When it comes to lightweight carbon-plated racing shoes, two models stand out well above the competition. The Nike Vaporfly 3 weighing in at only 220 grams in my UK size 10, US size 11, and the Asics Metaspeed Edge Paris weighing in at an astonishingly light 209 grams in my UK size 10. Now I'm excluding the Adidas Pro 1 from this video because they're out of reach for most non-professional runners, and I personally have never seen one in real life. Now, you're likely to know this, but Asics Metaspeed Paris comes in two editions. You have the Metaspeed Edge Paris with a more curved and lower carbon plate aimed at cadence runners, and the Metaspeed Sky Paris with a flatter plate aimed at stride type runners. But in terms of weight, height, drop, the Edge and the Sky are almost identical. But today we're focusing on the Metaspeed Edge Paris because based on my experience, they are the most similar to the Nike Vaporfly 3 of any super shoe in the market today. And in fact, these two super shoes are so similar that there's only subtle differences between them. And in this video, we're going to look at them side by side, talk through those subtle differences in feel and performance, and hopefully give you enough information. Should you wish to purchase and go for one of these amazing super shoes, you'll know which one will suit you the best. But before we do, I need your help. My wife has told me that I'm not allowed to buy any more running shoes until I hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. She doesn't know that I've already ordered the Asics Superblast 2. So please do a man a favour, and if you've not already, please hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment to say hi. Let me know that you've subscribed so I can say hi and thank you for helping me grow this channel. Okay, so let's take a look at these side by side. The Asics are priced at £220 British on asics.com website, whereas the Nike Vaporfly are priced at £239.99 on the nike.com website. They are both aimed at the neutral runner and are specifically designed for racing. They are both narrow through the entire shoe and likely would feel a little bit too narrow for anybody that's got a very wide foot. They're both approximately 7.8 centimeters wide at the heel, with the Asics Edge being slightly wider in the midfoot and arch area at 5.8 centimeters versus 5.1 on the Vaporfly 3. The Vaporfly 3 is then wider across the forefoot at 10.7 centimeters versus 10.1 on the Edge Paris. The Vaporfly 3 has a stack height at the rear of 40 mm versus 39.5 on the Edge Paris. The Vaporfly 3 has a drop of 8 mm down to 32 mm in the forefoot, with the Asics dropping down to 34.5 mm, so having a 5 mm drop. But in reality, the stack height actually feels identical because of the different density of foam used in these shoes. Both shoes use a PBA or P-Bax based foam. The FF Turbo Plus in the Edge Paris is firm underfoot, whereas the Nike Zoom X is especially soft in the Vaporfly 3. And because of this, it's likely that if you are wearing the Nike Vaporfly 3, you'll sink into them a little bit more than you would if you were wearing the Metaspeed Edge Paris. So the net result is that the drop on the Vaporfly 3 feels almost exactly the same as the drop on the Edge Paris, so you're not going to notice any difference between the two super shoes. The Zoom X foam on the Vaporfly 3 that makes up the entire midsole is exceptional. It's soft, responsive and extremely comfortable. It keeps its shape well and performs from the first mile to the last. I've owned 4 pairs of the Vaporfly 3 and I can say that they just seem to get better and better the more distance you cover in them, and especially after you've done at least 50 miles. They're like a greyhound dog that really wants to go fast and are happiest when you're running at 85% plus of your top speed. Because they're so narrow and soft, however, they do feel absolutely awful to walk anywhere in. The FF Turbo foam on the Edge Paris is firmer than the Zoom X. It's equally responsive and bouncy and offers a very comfortable and supportive ride for anything from 5k up to a marathon. You don't get such a feeling of sinking into the foam as you do in the Vaporfly 3. Although both are narrow, they're both stable, supportive and handle corners better than you'd probably expect. The upper on both is fantastic, with Nike going for their super breathable Flyknit material, which is roomy and comfortable. I've not had a single sign of wear on any of my pairs of Vaporfly 3, even though in some of them I've done well over 250 miles. The upper on the Edge Paris is, in my opinion, the very best upper of any racing shoe. Asics use what they call the Motion Wrap 2, which is amazingly comfortable. It wraps around your foot and just feels amazing. It's durable and just as breathable as the Flyknit on the Vaporfly 3. I've not had any noticeable hot spots on either of these super shoes, but it's worth noting that I do have a narrow foot, which suits both Nike and Asics super shoes particularly well. The tongue on both is non-gusseted and very minimalistic. The tongue on the Edge Paris is pretty much just a piece of leather material, but it's just the right length and seems to sit perfectly in place while you're running. You do need to make sure it's in place before you lace up, but once you do, it's not going to move. The Vaporfly 3 tongue is quite unusual in its shape and it seems to be longer than is needed. That said, once it's in position, it does stay put and it doesn't bother you at all when you're running. Both have a decent level of heel and ankle support, with the Asics Edge Paris having a slightly more curved shape around the Achilles area, whereas Nike has a built-in padded area around the back of the Achilles. Both achieve excellent levels of support without any heel slip at all. The Edge Paris has a slightly larger toe bumper, and it also has a very thin toe box support area that's hidden on the inside of the upper around the toe box. There isn't much to it, but it's definitely there. The Vaporfly 3 has a smaller and more shaped toe bumper, but it has more grip on it than the Edge, which is actually quite important, and we'll come into why that is so important later in the video. If we take a look at the outsole, both, as you'd expect as racing shoes, have minimal coverage. But that said, both offer decent levels of grip on both wet and dry conditions and have reasonable levels of heel coverage on the areas of impact. Both do have large areas of exposed foam and both will wear over time, which is again what you would expect from a racing shoe. I'd not recommend taking either of these off-road, but in my experience the Vaporfly 3 does hold up reasonably well to gravel tracks. I have found a couple of areas on the Vaporfly 3 that are prone to small areas of coming away from the glued areas on the outsole, but it can be very easily repaired with a little bit of trainer glue. Performance-wise, I found them to perform almost exactly the same over anything between a 5 and a 21k distance. I achieved similar speed, cadence and heart rate outputs on both of these, with only very small variables that are likely more to do with me and my day-to-day condition than anything to do with these super shoes. The lacing system and laces are almost identical in both, with groove style laces that achieve a great lockdown that won't come undone. I would say that with a double knot, there is almost no chance of either of these shoes to come undone accidentally while you're running. So with so many similarities in terms of fit, comfort and performance, where is the difference in these two that could make a difference and one more suitable for you than the other? Well, the answer actually is in the carbon plate. Both have a low carbon plate design, and if we take a look at them side by side, you can see that compared to many other carbon plated super shoes on the market, the carbon plate in these are especially curved around the rocker and set much lower in the midsole, with less foam between the outsole and more foam between the foot and the carbon plate. And at first look, these plates in both look pretty much the same, but there are subtle differences in them, which means that when you come to running and your experience in running in them, it's going to feel pretty different. If we first look at the Nike Vaporfly 3, you'll see that they have a very aggressive and steep curve through the midfoot, and then the plate starts to almost straighten out into the forefoot and under the toe box area. With the Edge Paris, the curve in the plate right to the toe area keeps your foot rolling forward and almost effortlessly takes you through and out of your stride and into your next. It's like you are into your next stride without even really noticing. The rocker somehow does the work for you and it responds really well to changes in pace. Running in such a light shoe with a carbon plate just feels great. The energy return is really high and that smooth roll keeps your cadence high without really feeling like you're having to do too much effort at all. In the Vaporfly 3, we have a much straighter plate through the forefoot and toe box area, which doesn't produce the same rolling sensation that you get in the Edge Paris. In the Vaporfly 3, it feels more like the shoe wants you to push off through the toe, which explains why they've included a little bit more grip in that toe box area. It feels like you can really kind of dig in through your stride and push out through the back of your stride to potentially produce more propulsion and stride length as a result of it. As noted, the difference is very, very subtle, but it's almost like the carbon plate in the Edge Paris is more of an automatic sensation, whereas the plate in the Vaporfly is more intended to give you more control over how aggressively you want to be and push out of your stride, and it feels like you're really digging into your stride, as I said before, It's not a huge difference, but it's definitely a different feeling. In terms of issues after running 10 miles plus in either of these super shoes, I've noticed a very small ache that I get in my right ankle after wearing the Asics. Now, this is likely because I'm so used to wearing running shoes with Zoom X foam in them, and because the ride is a little bit firmer in the Asics Edge Paris, it might just be that I'm not so used to it. The ache went away after a very short amount of time and some stretching. So all in all, the margins are very, very small, and it's almost impossible to say that one is better than the other because it comes down to feel. If you prefer a soft ride where you can intentionally dig in and push hard through your stride, then the Vaporfly 3 could be the better option. But if you prefer a firmer ride with a more prominent roll through your stride into the next without really thinking about it too much, then the Edge Paris might be the better option for you. Both are outstanding and both perform well at all distances. For me, these both excel at 10K to half marathon, but I'm sure both would also be great at marathon distance too. I just personally wouldn't wear either of them for a marathon because I would wear the Vaporfly 3 for that distance. As always, let me know in the comments your thoughts about either of these super shoes. Do you own either of them? What are your thoughts? Do you agree with what I said? Did I miss anything? Let me know in the comments. If you've enjoyed the video, then please consider giving the video a thumbs up. And if you have enjoyed it, then it might be worth checking out either of these videos here.